to that maybe after the introductions. In the bottom left of Jag and Nata, we have the blue Protoss, MCanning.
And his opponents in the red playing Terran. Performance has been as dormant as Jess's cat's. It's future. Did your cat get tired from jamming too much, or what happened there?
That's exactly what it is. Every time you guys cat jam in chat, Apollo gets a little bit sleepier. So.
But not before doing it as well, right?
Yeah, of course. He's cat jamming every single time. Yeah, the expectations for Future have been big, you know, in a way that MCanning I don't think ever really had to. I don't think he was under the same pressure for a long time. I think MCanning came into, was it summer? I think it was summer last year, kind of like, oh, great that he qualified. You know, occasionally he will qualify for the North American events, but then he just, you know, he blew it out of the water, man. He did fantastic. And since then, I do feel like MCanning has been under the same pressure that a professional or semi-pro player would feel. Whereas before, you know, I think he did identify as a streamer who just, you know, was good at the game. Might be a little bit different now. Pressure might actually get to him.
Yeah, he should be starting to have a fair amount of experience in tournaments by now, though. And perhaps he can use that to his advantage. I'm sure he's very familiar with Future as well. I mean, they both should be with one another. There's definitely more to study from MCanning, though, as somebody that streams very regularly. You can definitely, you know, it's easy to watch somebody and like kind of pick up on certain trends in like what they like to do. Do you have any particular infos on how they both like to play in this specific matchup?
Well, MCanning is mostly well known for his disruptors, right? And that doesn't really change too much. You can always bring that out. But I do think as he's become a little more serious about the tournaments, a little more, you know, expectations are there from the actually make it to the bracket stage. We have seen him go more into some, you know, quote unquote normal stuff, just like a blink opener. For Future, I do feel like he is one of those Terrans that can be awfully frustrated with the matchup. And with that, he does try and sometimes do some odd plays to kind of throw his opponent off. In this case, it's not going to be an aggressive early play, but it's going to be a very fast third CC. So if he gets away with this, especially, you know, MCanning just doesn't scout it whatsoever, then it's like a macro cheese, right? We can sometimes call it that. It'll be a lot for MCanning to deal with in 6 minutes.
You say frustrated with the matchup, but I'm guessing that you mean against all the proxies and all the cheese that Protoss can at times throw at Terran, which definitely has been a trend as of late. But now he kind of did something that's like, you know, risky against that. If there were to be something like a proxy or some heavy aggression, quick third commentator is probably not the thing you want to go for. But he's playing against MCanning, who's not known for going for this kind of builds himself a lot. Future, he didn't even scout. He's seen nothing. Like it might seem like a gamble, but if you know your opponent very well, I guess that's fine. And he's making an eBay now.
Yeah, I think that this actually might be a situation where Future feels confident against MCanning. I actually think that Future might be a little more comfortable when it comes to a straight up defensive macro Protoss who just keeps like batting his pushes away. But MCanning, while he can play the very defensive, solid Protoss strategy, one thing that you're sure of is that he's not going to be cheesing. It's either going to be a little more of harassment, such as like a disruptor drop, or it is going to be kind of that solid Colossus style, which we'll see which one this is going to go into here as we have the robotics bay on the way. But I think Future knows that it's just like he can get away with this. And if you can get away with a 3CC, totally unscouted. There's getting away with it as in not being punished, and then there's getting away with it being totally unscouted, very late reaction from the Protoss. This is going to scout it. Hallucination is actually being sent over, and I'm so glad MCanning included a sentry, because I think he does need to actually respond here. I think he needs to start adding in something a little bit greedier himself, or actually try and do some damage, which I don't know how much he can do with this Colossus opener.
Yeah, if there was a War Prism first, he would have some real initiative to go and do some harassment with either a Colossus or a Disruptor drop, but there was no Prism made. It was just 2 observers in the first place. There's still some timings you can go for before the opponent's gonna have like, you know, Vikings and stuff, but with the way the Colossus is now, it will be harder to pull that kind of stuff off. And the Future, these does feel pretty greedy. Like that +1 was extremely quick as well. It kind of delayed the factory and starport for it, but not too much. And worker count-wise, if you're even right now as the Terran and you have triple mule to work with, you're doing fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. This is a spectacular position for Future. little arrow that you see on our overlay. 250, I think, for the first arrow, 500 for the second arrow, just to give you an idea. So that's about it. Like whenever Future drops those mules, we'll see those spikes. There you go, seeing the graph right now. And that is all going to quickly invest into a large army. You know, sometimes when we say the players are investing into it, they can be hit while they're investing and die because they have resources tied up. They can invest into it and then not actually hit a particular strong timing. It's just like, yeah, okay, they invested in a +1, didn't get much done. I think in this case, this investment is like buying Bitcoin 10 years ago. Like this is going to pay off, even if there's a couple of dips. And Future is going to be feeling super confident having gotten away with this too. So I expect to see some really nice aggression shortly.
Well, hopefully he's sold on time as well, because otherwise it's not actually doing too hot right now necessarily. But yeah, it's definitely gone up. You saw that
10 years ago is good.
Yeah. You remember that there was a tournament where, like, I think it was third place or something, had like 2 Bitcoin back then.
Yes. Yeah, 91 Scarlet show match. I'm guessing they actually neither one of them saved the Bitcoins, because I feel like they would have made a tweet or something. Maybe I should ask Scarlet.
I doubt it, yeah. Future being well set up on 3 bases now, it's so easy from there, you know, to have the plan, right? You drop the second eBay, the Armory, you just keep on producing. And knowing that you had the third base this quick, he's not going to have to wait too long before he finally starts to have like the critical mass that he can really be aggressive with.
It should be soon. I mean, either he tries a direct gut punch to the third Nexus, which I'm not sure that would work, right? Or he starts going for just a bit of multitasking, so a push over to the right and then a drop over to the left. And I think that would be a lot better, especially because MCanning hasn't exactly gone for a harassment defensive type of army. He's gone for the straight up defense, 3 Colossus, that's beautiful to have, and a choke with a couple of force fields, but no blink, not a whole lot of gateway units. It's going to be very difficult for MCanning to actually split up his army, and correctly as well when all of his spotters are being taken out.
Perhaps Future knew about this type of pylons. Like usually when you do this, you know, you're doing it every game to have a little bit of extra vision. They just moved out, sniped 2 pylons, he's happy with it, still pulling further and further ahead in supply. It might force an extra observer as well to place on the left-hand side for MCanning to make sure it doesn't get dropped there. And yeah, that 4th base, it feels like it's very delayed. He made it when he had already like 24 out of 16 mineral probe on the 3rd base. Usually you want to start that way quicker.
That's a good point. That actually might have been, I don't know, maybe that's just a mistake, you know, he didn't mean to oversaturate so much, but kind of got in the swing of producing probes. You're right, yeah. It's a little bit awkwardly timed. It looks like Future is just going to try and max out and then push, which is giving MCanning time to not just go into more disruptors, which we all know he loves to use and use very well, but also to actually fill out his supply, because that's the most concerning thing with this type of opener, with what MCanning does, is that he just doesn't have a lot of units. But they are all powerful units. Well, the more time goes on, the more that hopefully he gets to include more Stalkers, more charge lots. But it is finally time for Future to move out. He is maxing out as we speak with 1-1 upgrade. It's going to be even on the fight. A couple of tanks, about 5 tanks, and a handful of Vikings, but it's this Marauder count. It's the bio count on the ground, the 60 supply lead that Future might just be able to bulldoze or MCanning over with.
He doesn't have a lot of Vikings, just 4 against 3 Colossi, but he has 5 tanks, and those are really well placed right now. MCanning engages pretty much immediately. I thought he might just go around, try to get an engagement from both sides, but yeah, he's trailing quite a bit behind in supply. It's going to abandon this base here. And the army supply 130 to 72. MCanning, I agree it shouldn't fight there, but he's going to fall further and further behind. A single Marine on the bottom right actually intercepted that probe. That's kind of annoying.
That is annoying. I mean, you'd hope to get away with that for a little bit longer before they noticed. DT also kind of reveals itself, so not a surprise to see it. I do think MCanning made the wisest decision possible by canceling or letting that Nexus go, rather, and give him another shot at life. But whether he tried to save it or not, I think it was all depending on a couple of fantastic disruptor shots, which are really difficult to get up against tanks, and tanks themselves actually get 2-shot from them, so they don't go down too easily. MCanning's going to take a little bit of a fight, trying to stall the progress into his own natural, because if Future gets there, then it is, in fact, game over. But can he actually stop Future? The supply is still favoring the Terran. Disruptor's going to try and change things up, though, and one of them at least goes off, and the supply suddenly plummets for Future. A Zealot even coming in from the backside is helping distract the tanks, as the shield go back to the natural, saves the Colossus, and MCanning. Can he actually hold against this? I think it's happening.
Oh my god, our Disruptor is gonna make the supply. He's ahead in supply now. He was so far behind the whole time. Future perhaps overextending. He doesn't have a fourth base himself for some reason. He made the command center not quite on location. I mean, he had all the comfort in the world. Definitely could have made that there. And a big overextension here by him to... I mean, he had already killed that base. Could have just taken his sweet time, but engaged kind of crazily and got punished for it with some big connections from those Novas.
I mean, I gotta say that a lot of the problem of North America in general, I would say, was actually that sometimes we can just see like the hot-bloodedness of North Americans. And Future is one of those Terrans where I'm like, man, I prefer seeing a guy who's willing to get aggressive and willing to like show off his micro like he did versus those Disruptors. But then I think that it does set you up for sometimes being over-aggressive and making the incorrect decision based off of, you know, overconfidence or sometimes just straight up rashness. So I think it did kind of start with him moving forward like that, prompting the engagement, getting hit by the Disruptor, and not, I guess, sizing up the Protoss army accurately. So now we have an even game where MCanning got his fourth base replaced and is now adding on that fifth. He has plenty of technology. His upgrades are looking good as well as he moves on to +3 armor.
His upgrades are way ahead.
I actually feel good for MCanning.
He's about to be 3-2 against 1-1 on even supply. So if there's ever a moment the soup is not gonna lie, I mean, if you can engage here, where do you go though? Do you want to step inside of these sensor tower ranges where the Terran easily spots you? It's so, I always found it so intimidating, you know, like to know that you're stepping in there, the opponent sees all these exclamation marks, he sees your exact army movement.
Yeah, I think that's where you do have to start bouncing around and hoping just to catch them, you know, too fast, whether tanks are resieging or the Liberators are resieging. But in this case, it's actually MCanning looking to posture and then getting surprised by a big old drop to the right. That fourth Nexus was scouted earlier on, and Future heads right towards it, is going to grab the kill, but might have trouble escaping. I think there's blink on some of these stalkers. Oh, not quite. So 4 medevacs will escape, and that is just that's a victory right there for Future. He actually got that almost for free.
Yeah, he channeled his inner pulse. Somehow there was no observer well set up to see this early enough. No recall was available either for MCanning. Losing that Nexus, it's very annoying. Like, that was not really supposed to happen if he had been careful enough. Now, Future is the one with quite a few ghosts, 6 of them. So the EMP potential is going to be huge in those fights. And it really feels like the Purification Novas might make or break the game for MCanning, but he's again out of position as Future gets on top of yet another base.
This is certainly an awkward position for MCanning. I think he once again is going to have to give it up. But after losing the fourth Nexus too, that's a harsh reality right there. But it's, I think, overall still the wise decision. Going to try and take a better position. Warner's Disruptors will get juicier shots. Yeah, those EMPs, certainly an extra deadly element to Future's army that is once again maxed. Upgrades in favor of MCanning, however, in Future, actually not going to take the best fight again as so many Marauders get just torn apart. They're already tanking the shots, and then they get hit by the Disruptor. The Vikings trying to take on the Colossus as well, and MCanning not getting the same engagement yet so far. But he's not done. He's not going to dedicate when he knows that he can't actually break his opponent. Now he comes in as the tanks were all on siege. The Future might have made a huge mistake. I think he's got to get out of there.
Yeah, Zealots keep coming in. Actually, quite a bit of friendly fire here from the Storm. He's going to drop the main base. Future is looking like he's the most mobile player by far here. With his army movement all the time. He's pulling MCanning out of position consistently. Snipes, or actually almost a Disruptor, which is running back in right now. Stalkers, a little bit ambitious here for them to go at the front like this on their own. Another Storm lands, and Future actually gets out with some of these units somehow.
One of those medevacs, I think, was one shot, but fortunately for Future, he's going to escape with about 3 medevacs full of units. And while he was doing all that pressure, grabbing that Colossus, grabbing the Disruptor, he was also macroing off of 4 bases going on to 5. So he also was like buying himself time. And MCanning, I mean, having lost 2 Nexus kind of during that, is having a bit more of a problem remaxing, although finding reinforcements here, finding the drop. Future was looking to continue the aggression, but might have been a mistake, but not just like going back home immediately. MCanning gonna run with this momentum and try and do a counter, but the tanks, the Sim City, it's just too much.
He started engaging for a second without his item plus and Disruptors being there. And again, it's those Sensor Towers doing so much. If he goes all the way to the top left-hand side, yes, he could probably shut down this base and kill it, but then he's getting attacked on the bottom right, which is going to happen regardless of things here, with those 2 medivacs loaded up with 8 Marauders.
That is a building killing force right there. They're gonna actually even soak up the storms if MCanning had any, but those are fresh High Templars, so just 300 gas down the drain as well. By the looks of it, maybe a recall, maybe an overcharge. MCanning not gonna recall, as did he actually? No, that's the overcharge actually. Yeah, he has a recall, but I think he knows that he can hold it without it, so doesn't want to get caught by surprise. Maybe if Future's army was actually attacking to the left, right? It's not. It is back at home, and now just dealing with some harassment.
Super battery, as they call it. MCanning, that was definitely an annoying moment here. Like earlier when he got attacked there, the High Templar didn't have the energy yet for Storm, and now again, he must have been like, oh man, come on, stop attacking me so early, give me a bit of time. But now he moved new High Templars there. Those do have Storm. It doesn't feel like his maxed out army is necessarily the most effective in that isn't it just kind of missing some Colossi as well? And like when you have this many Archons also, if EMPs start landing, those are just going to evaporate.
Definitely true about the Archons, and saving the High Templar from EMPs is also very difficult. I will say that Showtime, someone who is very good at this matchup, does oftentimes just stop making Colossus. Like, he makes the first 3, and then he's, like, good to go on Disruptors. So maybe MCanning has taken some inspiration there. This fight seeming a little bit awkward as MCanning chooses to push through a choke, but I guess Future also really wasn't that well set up for the engagement either, so he is the one forced to retreat. MCanning takes a bit of a supply lead. He's moving into a planetary, however, and that, you know, that requires dedication. I'm not sure he should actually dedicate, especially as the EMPs take on his High Templars.
Yeah, you better have a recall ready if you're going to step in there, because that's the only exit. On the other side, the Marauder drop actually killed 2 High Templars and a DT, and MCanning is going to counterattack. Okay, that bunker. Lots of surface area available on there to actually get the snipe. Those MCanning want to go for the top left-hand side base. No, he's trying to get a sandwich on the army.
Oh, that Storm was cheeky. He got 7 SCVs, but also just pulling the army out of position. MCanning tries to head up into the natural. Some Disruptors going off, but that's a lot of space for Future to micro away. And MCanning won't find as much of a 1-2 punch as he was hoping. I love the High Templars that are coming out of nowhere, apparently, but I don't know if they've been the most effective.
These guys are ninjas. Loaded up with the Storm,
exactly.
Finger on the trigger. MCanning definitely needs to send the probes from his expansion onto his new base, probably the one on the left-hand side. And this time it's 4 Dark Templars on the right-hand side, ready to step into that expansion here on the right-hand side. But there's the 1 turret. They can kill that pretty quickly. Blink DT is on the way. Your Dragon is somewhere smiling.
I mean, everyone copied Fear Dragon. He was leading the charge back in 2015. And it takes 4 years, I would say, about 2019 is when we started seeing them, and now they're just a staple of any matchup. The Liberators are quite scary. That is a good number of them, so even if they're initially caught unsieged, they will quickly rip the army to shreds, especially when EMP'd. They actually are going on the +3 ship weapons, so they already have that +2, plus an EMP means Stalkers actually get 1 shot, and that's too brutal to ever engage with. So MCanning, he's going to go for the base trade.
Whew, that hurts. That hurts a lot. There's another High Templar coming in. Oh, he gets EMP just on time. Very well done by Future. MCanning going for the base race. He actually counters attack instead. 3 Colossi there. And I can't see too many Vikings, but there is a lot of Liberators here ready to set up. 8 of them getting in position. DT's running in, but there is a turret. They're going to fall super fast. They blink past everything into the wall. They get scanned now.
Yeah. So far, so good on Future's defense. MCanning is going to lose 2 Nexus and a lot of probes, but Future is on a very low health count, basically. Like, all of his bio was already stimmed, then it got stormed, and the medevacs were out of juice, so MCanning could actually take a decent fight despite the supply if the Liberators aren't involved. But here they are, saving the day, making sure that nothing is in question, and MCanning has found himself in a very desperate position. His call to base trade wasn't necessarily, like, incorrect, because he really couldn't take on the Liberators as it was, but it did not work out for him. He's still down 50 supply.
Yeah, that was a really narrow escape here. Actually, to the left-hand side, there was an enraged Protoss immediately behind him. He barely got out, set up the Liberators that were there just on time, and lives to tell the tale. And now MCanning's the one losing patience. He's going to blink forward. Oh my god, those EMPs were massive. All of the Stalkers lost their shields instantly. Purification Novas are not really landing. Oh, maybe the next one.
This engagement is a bit sloppy, to say the least. That was a surprising engagement for MCanning to take into that choke again, and the Liberators. He did manage to take out a lot of Liberators that are actually pointed on top of the choke, so it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. but the Disruptor is also trying to get their best hits. Didn't find the most amazing ones. Did support. They live. A lot of robo units living for MCanning. That's usually a great sign, but he can't even really afford to supply up with gateway units. He's really poor. This base is ultra important, but with the Liberators already sieged up, I fear it's gone.
Ooh, the Storm actually hit a lot here. This Ghost running really low on hit points. He's recalling, and MCanning wants to take the fight. Future sees it, he starts running away. Woo, action-packed game here where Future is starting to take a big supply leads.
Yeah, MCanning, at least he saves that base, though. He's got the bottom right base. So he's got at least 2 bases fully mining, and not much more than that, where Future is, I think, in a similar situation. Stalkers on top of the Liberators grab every last one, but Future had so much money. Oh my god, 6 Liberators just replaced that. Instantly, they're on the front lines, 6 more on the way in reinforcements. There's not much that MCanning can do about that. Like, there's really nothing he can do about that. You'd have to hope that Future just forgets to micro the Liberators.
Oh, these high Templars down there, they're not moving yet. Maybe waiting for a bit more energy here to try and land some big storms. There's no 2 ways around it. MCanning needs big storms and big purification novas here in order to have a chance to win this game. But fighting against Liberators is so tricky when you're behind in supply. A storm lands, but those Liberators, they're covering the army perfectly. That's pushing into the expansion right now.
Yep. Not much that MCanning can do. He has to go around the Liberators, but Future now takes out the natural, heads into the main base, and guess what? Now there's Liberators on your own choke. So MCanning, I mean, pretty much like the only thing he can do is go for another base trade, but it's such a late start. Future already has Liberators back at home. I don't know what MCanning can do here, but he's going to try to the very last.
It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground.
Exactly. He's got high ground on both locations. It's 2 Obi-Wans all on high grounds against Anakin.
You underestimate my Disruptors.
I don't think I do. This is not the alternative ending of the PS2 game where you actually beat Obi-Wan. This is the good old-fashioned Star Wars ending where Anakin's legs get cut in half. Oh no, here it comes. The Liberators are a little missieged, to be fair. But MCanning, he's working on just a torso right now. He's crawling his way back up to Obi-Wan, and I don't think it's actually going to do anything.
That went way further than I thought it would here. You really pushed this one to the maximum. Yeah, MCanning 63 army supply against 1 and 52. It's going to take no less than the absolute best fight that I've ever seen in my life in StarCraft, and I've seen a lot of games for him to come back in this. He's got a few high Templars on the bottom right-hand side. Let's see those storms. Future tries to step out of it.
I mean, he needs those storms to hit everything. Liberators and Bio, which, hey, some pretty damn good storms. But the medevac count, I mean, most of them are drains. Fortunately for Future, he didn't stop remaking them. If he had, I think this game would have been different. But with it and with the escape possibility, Future should be fine.
Yeah, MCanning doesn't even want to bother going in there. Like, he's afraid of that army, even though everything's pretty much really low. He's re-expanded on the right-hand side. Future not with too much minerals left on the bases that he has, but that's supply. 172 to 90. If MCanning wins this, I feel like we should just give him the 2-0 wins, because that's how much he would deserve it at this point. And he has to remake Cybercore. His infrastructure is completely wrecked. Remember, he lost all the robos that he had, Robo Bay, Templar Archives, all of that. And most of all, that beautiful Dark Shrine.
Yeah, that was pretty important to his potential success. It's gone now, just having to restart technology from level 0, Gateway, then Cybernetic Core, then Twilight. And we'll see when he goes into that afterwards. I can't believe MCanning has gotten this kind of cheeky, almost hidden base on Future's side of the map, but apparently that hasn't been scouted. Otherwise, I think Future would already be killing it. And Future, I guess, is just wary of not letting this game go. I am positive that they have played games in the past where Future did have a lead, let's say like a 30 supply lead, and he's probably lost it to some weird shenanigans and base trades. So he's just really not going to let that happen this time around.
He scanned the brand new base on the right-hand side. He's actually sending 2 Liberators there to siege that up. There's nothing in position to help out against the Libs. And yeah, MCanning wouldn't be surprised if he started giving up a bit here. He must know how far behind he is. He's just trying to give it one more fight. EMP lands on everything. Liberators cleaning up. Stalkers need to target them. Where's the Nova? He already used them, but missed mostly.
Yeah. The Marauders actually going to force their way through despite for Colossus. And that is going to be it. Future takes game number 1. Perhaps as expected, if you were to have me in the first 7 minutes, I'd be like, yeah, Future wins this one, right? Suddenly we go into a 25-minute game, and it was thrown into question occasionally. but he finally takes it. Very one-sided towards the end, but MCanning made a hell of a game out of it.
Yeah, very well done by Future. MCanning showed some good spirit. I like that he didn't get, like sometimes the player leaves. It kind of feels like it's clearly over if the opponent doesn't make mistakes, and there's that person asking, like, why did he leave? It was too early. I don't think this is going to be one of those games here with the supply differential and everything. But yeah, very well done by Future. MCanning, I feel like he just has to do slightly better. Connect with a few more storms. It might sound easy, and it is not. But if he can do that, land a few more storms, there were like some clutch timings on the right-hand side. That base that kept being attacked when High Templars didn't have the energy yet for Storm, that was a big deal, I think. That added up over time.
Yeah. I actually really want to highlight the fact that Future, despite making, I think in total that game, he probably made like 20 plus Liberators. He actually didn't make a very common, very easy mistake, which is to stop making medevacs. Because there was the first time I noticed they were completely dry when he headed into the main base, and that was the 4 of them. And I was worried either continue being the same 4 or they'd eventually get lost and he just wouldn't remake them. Had he not had like 10 medevacs in some of those last engagements, those storms add up to deaths or one-shots from like a Colossus. And it's just suddenly poof. All the guards of the Liberators are gone. Liberators can be cleaned up. And you got an even closer game than it was around that 16-minute mark. But nope, Future was on top of things for the most part. Might have let it slip out of his grasp occasionally, but brought it back. And now we head into game 2 with Future being up 1-0.
By the way, Nina and Astrea are playing on the B stream right now. I've been keeping an eye on that game as well. And Nina's up 1-0.
Oh, nice. Nice. I mean, we do expect her to actually make it out into the bracket stage. It'd be surprising if she didn't.
All right, let's jump into map number 2 here. We're going to be playing on Oxide and starting in the bottom left-hand side of the map. A true American, the Can himself, MCanning.
In the top right for Team Alpha X up 1, he is Future.
And I wonder if Future might go again for the same type of triple command center, because your level of certainty can kind of tell you, like of the opponent's chances to go for a cheese, can kind of tell you whether you can get away with it. And we saw in game 1, that was just not the case. Can MCanning even really fully realize what happened? Most likely, right? He should know that that was a 3 command center. So now he also supposedly gets to ask himself this question, like, should I maybe throw in a cheese, hoping that I catch him doing the 3CC? But then it's like, what if he doesn't do that?
Yeah, and it's not really, MCanning is a great and fun player to watch, but not necessarily because he's a big cheeser, right? He's not Max Packs, which is why a lot of people like cheering for Max Packs. And even he's actually been adding in a lot more normal macro games. So even if he did like say, okay, I think Future's going to do it again, because sometimes Future does just have like, it looks like he has a build that he's practiced and he really likes, and he does it over and over again. It wouldn't actually, I think, be MCanning's best build, but I know that he does practice with it. It wouldn't be like, I don't know. I think we see Showtime do like a proxy Void Ray game, and we're like, what are you doing? But I think MCanning has done plenty of it on his stream.
He just drop a cheeky tag in his base, the disrespect.
These guys are actually joking with each other in the lobby as well, calling each other too handsome and too talented. So
it's good to see some good spirits amongst the players. Usually it's the case, I think, for the most part. It's kind of rare that, some of them dislike each other, I would say, in the scene, at least from what I know.
Not anymore. I think actually North America used to be a very different scene. I think a lot of its memes and people kind of, shitting on it a little bit, to be honest, didn't just come from the fact that it's not the best practice ground or that North Americans haven't won like a big championship. I think actually during like Wings of Liberty, early HOTS years-ish, I think it was also because you had a lot of BM people on North American ladder. And so It made it very easy to not like the region based off of, 4 players that you played when you wanted to actually play on the ladder of NA. So I think it's very different now. Every one of these guys has been really cool.
Yeah, good point. The rivalries can be interesting, but it's also nice, when everybody's just nicer with each other in general. You're always going to have a few controversial figures, though, I would say, but maybe less so as of late. And
I think so.
Yeah, we do see again the blink opener here from MCanning. He skipped the robo so far. No quick third command center this time around for future. So I guess good on MCanning that he didn't throw in a chase to try and counter a quick third command center, which in this case wouldn't have been there.
No, it would not have. Future's actually going for his own bit of aggressive build. It's only a couple Hellions, but then followed up with a medevac drop. It can distract one way or another. No Reaper to bop the Adept out of the way, so I think the Hellions are pretty much not going to do anything. But the Widowmine drop might actually still do something. MCanning should be predicting this, or at least aware of a drop potential.
You know, this type of wall, even though it's really good to defend in the start, I feel like it always comes back to like haunt you later on if you get attacked and you get sieged down there and you just have no way to engage like really effectively. That's always what I was afraid of. Like I had like PTSD from seeing this kind of wall and trying to have to defend around it at times.
It can be really annoying. I think most of the time we see it in this age, I guess, blocking out like Archons or army movements from the Protoss, so it can definitely still backfire. Defending against Hellions, though, that's what it's great against. Can't really help out against the Widowmine drop. Stalker's not being blinked defensively. Adept going down with 2 probes as well, and the main base is going to also be under fire. At the very least, this is going to cause a lot of missed mining time, but it also grabbed a couple of army units. Not bad.
Yeah, units lost. We had 4 probes going down, but the Stalkers also got connected into a little bit. MCanning was so convinced nothing could attack him at the expansion because he had the wall, but Future just flew in there. Easy, and got a couple probe kills. Now Blink's about to finish, so any follow-up aggression, MCanning will be much better prepared to receive. And speaking of, there's a Medivac in the main base. He's out of position again.
Oh gosh, there's so many things that are messing up for MCanning, actually. Not just the fact that he's taking damage. These couple of Hellions doing far more than I ever thought they would by being ferried into the main. 5, 6 probes, but on top of that, MCanning walled his natural, so his probe didn't get to a third immediately. So his Nexus should have gone down actually about 30 seconds ago. Like 45 seconds ago. Because first it was that, then it was the Hellions, the Violence still wasn't down. That third Nexus was supposed to be building this entire time. That is also a heavy contributor to how behind MCanning is.
Yeah, he goes into charge behind it, so there's not going to be any kind of Robo-Bay follow-up. He's only on 3 gases still. Really seems to be the thing nowadays that all the Protosses are doing. You never rush that 4th assimilator quite yet. 3 more gates going down immediately after the Nexus, so perhaps a very heavy charge lot composition with High Templars next, possibly.
That's possible. You know, for a while, it was kind of too on the nose, I suspect. So we had people just go into either, Zest all gateway all the time. Expand, expand,
God,
expand.
there's a Viking.
Yeah, Viking's going to get a couple of probes, and more than a couple. Again, just MCanning being, I think, thrown off his game from last game, actually. I think the way the last game panned out didn't really put him in a proper mindset. So this game, not starting off great for him either. It just continues to get worse. 7 probes go down. So he's been behind in workers this entire time. But yeah, the High Templar thing, you can either go into mass army units, which I think MCanning might have been setting up for a 3-base attack, or you can add on Storm nowadays. You do see some Protoss do that with the Warp Prism Ferry. But for a while, we actually just had like a direct transfer in a Colossus. I'm not sure MCanning can afford to do either splash option. I think his best bet would have been, is actually still maybe going for a lot of gateway units. But he does add on that Robotics Bay. It is where MCanning's going to feel comfiest. It's just, it's not going to give him anything for quite some time, and Future's already pushing out.
And this move is going to be super scary. Maybe the Stalkers can achieve something. There's a Raven at the front, gets microed back immediately. Very well done by Future. Observer might have to move out of the way here, otherwise might get sniped. Perhaps Future doesn't even care. He just wants to rush across the map. Oh my god. He realized there was a lot of the army out on the map, so dropping the main base, he even boosts out of there. The recall is for nothing. That Medivac will live. And Future is attacking on the right-hand side of the center. Perhaps anti-armor missile could be launched if he feels confident enough to fight.
Yeah, auto turrets, anything really would help out as long as the Raven's alive, which is guaranteed to be since the Stalkers are busy taking care of the main base. MCanning's robotics bay is done, but he absolutely cannot afford to get into any type of disruptor or colossus. And this is where I was saying that maybe just all-inning on pure gateway would have been better. Maybe he would have had a couple more zealots here to wrap around on those tanks, but as it is, he's bleeding off units. He's got really no macro game in sight. Disruptor number 1 is on the way, but his other arm units are already dying. Future just, I mean, he started this game off so well, and he's just gonna finish it with kind of ease here.
Yeah, MCanning finally left all of his stalkers in the main base. He was fed up with the drops. He knew that Medivac would come back. He finally cleaned it up, but for it, he lost the game because his stalkers weren't on the right-hand side in Future. That was a dominant victory here, I gotta say. I mean, first game was kind of close, but second